Once upon a time, a man named Elijah was feeling very scared and alone. Elijah, a faithful servant of God, found himself in the wilderness, fleeing from those who threatened his life. His heart was heavy, his spirit was low, and he felt like he was the only one left who still believed in God. In his loneliness and despair, Elijah sought refuge under a broom tree. He prayed to God, expressing his deepest fears, his darkest thoughts. It was in this moment of vulnerability that something extraordinary happened. You see, God didn't leave Elijah to face his fears alone. No, he showed up for Elijah, but not in the way you might think. We often imagine God's voice to be loud, booming, and grand, echoing from the heavens. But that's not how God chose to speak to Elijah. There was a great wind, strong enough to shatter mountains and break rocks, but God was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, there was a fire, but God was not in the fire. And then, after all that noise and chaos, came a still small voice. A gentle whisper that cut through the silence. It was in this quiet, humble whisper that Elijah found God. It was in this whisper that God comforted Elijah, reassured him, and let him know that he was not alone. This story teaches us a profound lesson. God is always with us, even when we feel alone. He's there in our darkest nights and our deepest fears. He's there in the quiet moments and the gentle whispers. And sometimes that's where we find him the most, in the still small voice that speaks to our hearts when we least expect it. So remember, even in our scariest moments, God is there, whispering words of comfort and love. Now, let's journey with Elijah once again, but this time to a place far, far beyond the clouds. In the ancient times, there lived a prophet named Elijah. He was a man of faith, courage, and conviction. One day, something extraordinary happened. Elijah was about to embark on his most mystical journey yet, not by boat, not by foot, but in a chariot of fire, drawn by horses of fire. Now imagine that. Elijah was swept up in this divine blaze, a chariot not of this world, but of a heavenly realm. It was a sight to behold, a spectacle full of awe and wonder. And who was there to witness this grand event? Elijah's faithful protege, Elisha. Elisha saw his master taken up into the heavens, and he cried out, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen!" Such a sight was more than just a celestial spectacle. It was a testament to the power of God, a proof of his divine majesty, and a demonstration of his mysterious ways. What can we learn from Elijah's heavenly journey? It's that the ways of God are full of wonder and mystery. His plans are not always what we expect. Sometimes they are beyond our comprehension, beyond our wildest dreams, but they are always, always perfect. Elijah's journey tells us that God can take us places we've never imagined. He can lift us up, not just metaphorically, but literally beyond the clouds, beyond the stars, into his heavenly realm. All he asks for is faith, courage, and conviction, just like Elijah. Elijah's story is a reminder that our journey on earth is temporary, and our true home lies beyond. It teaches us to trust in God's plans, to embrace his divine mysteries, and to always keep our faith strong and unwavering. So the next time you look up at the sky, remember Elijah's fiery chariot. Remember the wonder, the mystery, and the divine power of God. And remember, just as he had a plan for Elijah, he has a plan for each one of us. Isn't that amazing? God's plans are always surprising and more wonderful than we could ever imagine. Imagine a time when the people of Judah had to leave their homes and travel to a faraway land called Babylon. Let's take a journey back to a period in history that was incredibly challenging for the people of Judah. The kingdom of Judah, once prosperous and free, found itself under the rule of the mighty Babylonian Empire. The people were forced to pack up their belongings, say goodbye to their homes, and embark on a long, arduous journey to an unfamiliar land. This was the time of the exile to Babylon. Life, as the people of Judah knew it, was upended. They had to leave behind their beloved homes, their cherished temples, and their way of life. They were thrust into a foreign world, far from everything they knew and loved. The vibrant streets of Judah were replaced with the strange sights, sounds, and smells of Babylon. The laughter and joy that once filled their homes were now replaced with longing and sorrow. But why did this happen, you may ask? The people of Judah had strayed from their faith. They had forgotten the teachings of their forefathers and had started to follow a path that was not in accordance with their beliefs. This led to their downfall and exile. Yet in the midst of the sadness and hardship, there was a glimmer of hope. Yes, they were in a foreign land, far from home, but they remained together as a community. They were able to lean on each other for support, comfort, and strength. They found solace in their shared experiences and began to understand the true meaning of unity and perseverance. The exile was a challenging time indeed, but it was also a time of learning and growth. The people of Judah learned the importance of staying true to their beliefs and values. They realized the significance of unity, resilience, and faith in the face of adversity. They understood that even in the darkest of times, there is always a spark of hope, a beacon of light guiding us towards better days. The story of the exile to Babylon is not just a tale of loss and despair, it is also a story of resilience and faith. It is a testament to the human spirit and its ability to endure, to learn, and to grow even in the toughest of times. The people of Judah may have lost their homes, but they never lost their faith or their hope. In our own lives, we too may face challenges and hardships. There may be times when we feel lost, confused, or overwhelmed. There may be moments when we find ourselves in a proverbial Babylon, far from everything we know and love. But the story of the exile to Babylon teaches us that we can face these challenges with courage and faith. We can learn from our experiences and grow stronger, just like the people of Judah did. Even in tough times, remember, there's always a lesson to be learned and growth to be experienced. No matter what we're going through, there's always an opportunity for growth and learning. So when faced with a challenge, let's remember the people of Judah and their journey to Babylon. Let's remember their resilience, their faith, and their ability to find hope even in the most difficult times. And let's use their example to inspire us to face our own challenges with courage, faith, and hope. Now imagine the joy and relief when the people of Judah were finally allowed to return home. The people of Judah had experienced years of hardship in Babylon, but their story didn't end there. As the sun set on their time in exile, a new day was dawning, a day filled with hope, promise, and a journey home. The Persian king Cyrus had issued a decree. He had been moved by something greater, something divine, to allow the people of Judah to return to their homeland. It was almost as if the winds of change had whispered in his ear, guiding his actions. And so it was time for the people of Judah to pack up their belongings, their memories of Babylon, and set forth on their journey back home. As they prepared to leave, there was an air of excitement, a buzz of anticipation. Their hearts were filled with joy and gratitude, their spirits were high, and their hopes were even higher. As the people made their way back home, they didn't just journey through the physical landscape, they journeyed through a landscape of emotions too. There were moments of joy and moments of sorrow, moments of looking back and moments of looking forward. But through it all, their spirits remained high. Their faith remained unshaken. When they finally reached their homeland, it was a sight to behold. The land they had once known was now in ruins, but even in its state of disrepair, it was beautiful to them. It was home. The people of Judah got to work, rebuilding their homes, their temples, their lives. They worked tirelessly, driven by the promise of a fresh start, a new beginning. As they rebuilt, they sang songs of praise, their voices echoing through the valleys and the hills, a testament to their unyielding faith and resilience. This return from exile wasn't just about a physical journey. It was a spiritual journey too. It was a testament to the power of hope, the power of faith, and the power of divine mercy. The people of Judah had experienced years of hardship, but they never gave up. They held on to their faith, they held on to their hope, and in the end, they were rewarded with a new beginning. This story is a reminder to us all A reminder that no matter how hard things get, no matter how long the night, there's always hope for a new beginning. There's always the promise of dawn after the darkness. It's a reminder that God is merciful, that He sees our struggles, hears our prayers, and in His time, He makes all things new. So, as we journey through life, let's remember the people of Judah. Let's remember their journey from exile to home. Let's remember their faith, their resilience, their hope. And let's remember that no matter what we're going through, no matter how long our night, there's always the promise of a new day, a new beginning. No matter how long the night, the dawn will break, so always hold on to hope. Have you ever dreamed of something so amazing that it left you wide-eyed in awe? That's what happened to a man named Isaiah. One day, Isaiah found himself standing in a place like no other. It was a grand and magnificent place, so beautiful and awe-inspiring that it's almost impossible to describe. This place was not on earth, but in the heavenly realm where God resides. Imagine the grandest and most stunning palace you've ever seen. Multiply it by 100, and you're still not even close to the majesty of where Isaiah found himself. This was the throne room of God. In this room, Isaiah saw God sitting on a high and lofty throne. The hem of God's robe filled the entire room, signifying His power and authority over all things. Above God's throne, Isaiah saw seraphim, angelic beings with 6 wings. With 2 wings, they covered their faces. With 2, they covered their feet. And with the remaining 2, they flew. These seraphim were calling out to each other, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory." The sound of their voices was so powerful that it caused the doorposts and thresholds to shake. Imagine how Isaiah must have felt witnessing such a display of divine majesty and power. He was in the presence of the Almighty God, witnessing His holiness firsthand. Overwhelmed by the grandeur of God's holiness, Isaiah realized his own unworthiness. He cried out, "Woe is me, for I am lost! For I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." But God, in His mercy, sent one of the seraphim with a burning coal taken from the altar. The seraph touched Isaiah's lips with the coal, symbolizing the purification of his sins. Then he heard the voice of God asking, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" With a cleansed heart and a newfound courage, Isaiah responded, "Here am I, send me." And just like that, Isaiah was commissioned by God to go and deliver His messages to the people. This vision that Isaiah had is a reminder for all of us. It tells us that God is huge and holy. He is greater and more wonderful than anything we can ever comprehend. His majesty is beyond our understanding, and His holiness is perfect. God's greatness can sometimes make us feel small and insignificant, but remember, it's the same God who loves us and has a special plan for each of us. Just as He had a mission for Isaiah, He has a mission for you too. So let's remember, kids, God is bigger and more amazing than we can ever imagine. Wow, what an adventure we've had, journeying through these incredible stories. We've traveled through time, seen miracles, experienced sorrow and joy, and learned a lot along the way. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. In our first stop, we met a man named Elijah who taught us about the still small voice. Remember how he found God not in the wind, nor the earthquake, nor the fire, but in a still small whisper? That's a reminder to us all to slow down, to listen, and to find God in the quiet moments of our lives. Then we followed Elijah on his heavenly journey. This story showed us that even when things seem impossible, with faith, all things can become possible. Elijah didn't need a spaceship to reach the heavens, did he? No, he simply trusted in God and was taken up in a chariot of fire. What a sight that must have been. Our third story took us to a darker time, the exile to Babylon. Even in the midst of great hardship and struggle, the people of Judah remained faithful. They showed us that sometimes we have to go through tough times, but those tough times don't define us. Our faith and our strength do. Then oh, what joy there was when we got to the return from exile. The people of Judah were allowed to go back home, to rebuild, to start again. It was a new beginning, a fresh start. It taught us that no matter how hard things get, there's always a chance for a new beginning. Our last stop was with Isaiah and his vision of God. This story reminded us of the majesty and glory of God. Isaiah saw God seated on a throne, high and exalted, and his heart was filled with wonder and awe. It's a reminder to us all of the greatness of God and his love for us. So what's the takeaway from all these stories? Well, they remind us to listen for God's voice in the quiet moments, to have faith even when things seem impossible, to stay strong during tough times, to embrace new beginnings, and to remember the greatness of God. These stories aren't just tales from long ago. They're lessons for us to carry in our daily lives. They're reminders of faith, of hope, of strength, and of love. And the most beautiful part? These stories are still being told, still being lived, by each and every one of us every single day. So as we end our journey today, let's carry these stories and their lessons in our hearts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep growing in faith. Goodbye. Hello, lovely families. Gather around, it's story time. Today we're embarking on a journey through 5 captivating tales from the Bible. We'll explore Ezekiel's visions of a chariot and of dry bones, witness Daniel's encounters with a fiery furnace and a den of lions, and marvel at Solomon's wise judgment. Each of these stories is a treasure chest filled with lessons waiting to be discovered. So are you ready to dive into these amazing stories? Here we go. Our first story is about a man named Ezekiel who had a vision of a chariot. Ezekiel, a prophet living in a time of great upheaval, experienced an extraordinary vision that took him beyond the realm of the ordinary. Imagine a sky unfolding with a whirlwind coming out of the north. A great cloud with a fire flashing forth continually and a bright light around it. In the midst of this spectacle, there appeared a likeness of 4 living creatures. Each of these creatures had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's foot. They sparkled like burnished bronze. Attached to these creatures was what Ezekiel described as a wheel within a wheel. These wheels were full of eyes all around, moving in unison with the creatures, never turning as they moved. Above the heads of these creatures, there was the likeness of a throne, gleaming like sapphire. And seated on the throne was a figure, radiant and awesome. Now you might be wondering, what could all this mean? Well, Ezekiel's vision was not just a spectacle of divine theatrics. It was a symbol, a message from God. The creatures, with their multiple faces, represented the omnipresence of God, his ability to see in all directions, to be everywhere at once. The wheels, intricate and full of eyes, symbolized the wisdom and omnipotence of God. They showed that God's actions are guided by his perfect knowledge and understanding. The throne represented God's sovereignty, his reign over all creation. But perhaps most importantly, the vision of the chariot symbolized God's divine presence and mobility. It showed that God was not confined to a temple or a geographical location. He could move and be present anywhere and everywhere, even amongst his people in exile. Through this vision, Ezekiel learned a profound truth about God's nature. He learned that no matter where we are, God is always with us, guiding us. And that is a comforting thought, isn't it? Ezekiel learned that no matter where we are, God is always with us, guiding us. Now, let's move on to another of Ezekiel's visions, the vision of dry bones. In this vision, Ezekiel found himself in a valley filled to the brim with dry bones. These bones were scattered about, devoid of life, a stark representation of desolation and hopelessness. But the story doesn't end there. As Ezekiel stood amidst this valley of dry bones, he heard the voice of God. God asked Ezekiel, "Can these bones live?" And Ezekiel responded, "O Lord God, thou knowest." Following this, God commanded Ezekiel to prophesy over these bones. He was told to say, "O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord." And as Ezekiel spoke these words, a miraculous event unfolded. The bones started to move, they rattled and began to come together. Bone to bone, joint to joint, they formed skeletons. And then, as if this spectacle was not awe-inspiring enough, tendons and flesh started to cover these skeletons. Before Ezekiel's very eyes, these dry bones transformed into a vast army of living, breathing beings. What does this vision mean? It's a symbol of hope and rebirth. You see, these dry bones represented the people of Israel in exile, their spirits dried up, feeling as dead and hopeless as the bones in the valley. But God showed Ezekiel, and through him, us, that no matter how dire the situation, how desolate the landscape, there is always the potential for life and renewal. God's power breathed life into these dry bones, just as his love and mercy can breathe life into the most hopeless of situations. This was not merely a promise to the people of Israel during their exile, but a timeless message of hope for all of us. It teaches us that no matter how challenging our circumstances may be, there is always a glimmer of hope. With God's help, we can find the strength to rise, just like those dry bones in the valley. From this vision, Ezekiel learned that with God's help, we can find hope even in the most difficult times. Our next story takes us to a fiery furnace and a man named Daniel. In the ancient kingdom of Babylon, there lived a wise man named Daniel and his 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. King Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of Babylon, had a towering golden statue made, and he ordered everyone in his kingdom to bow down and worship this statue. But Daniel and his friends, steadfast in their faith, refused to obey the king's command. Their refusal did not sit well with King Nebuchadnezzar. Enraged, he ordered that these 3 men be thrown into a fiery furnace, one so hot that it consumed the soldiers who were tasked with throwing them in. The king was certain no one could survive such a punishment. Yet, as he peered into the furnace, he saw not 3, but 4 figures walking unharmed amidst the flames. The 4th figure, he said, looked like a son of the gods. Astonished, King Nebuchadnezzar ordered the furnace doors be opened and Daniel and his friends to come out. As they stepped out, everyone was amazed. Not a hair on their heads was singed, their robes were unscathed, and there was no smell of fire on them. It was a miracle. Their faith had protected them from the fiery furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar was humbled by this miracle. He declared that no one should ever say anything against Daniel's God, for no other God could save in this way. Daniel and his friends had stood up for their beliefs, refusing to abandon their faith even in the face of certain death. Their courage had not only saved them, but also transformed a king's heart. Daniel and his friends showed us that staying true to what we believe in, even when it's hard, is a true sign of courage. Stay with me because we're not done with Daniel just yet. This time, he's in a den full of lions. Our story begins with Daniel, a man of unwavering faith and devotion to God. He lived in a time when King Darius ruled the land. Despite being a high-ranking official in the king's court, Daniel never let his status deter him from his daily prayers to God. One day, the other officials, envious of Daniel's favor with the king, hatched a devious plan. They persuaded King Darius to issue a decree that for 30 days anyone who prayed to any god or human except the king would be thrown into a den of lions. Daniel, however, remained steadfast in his faith. He continued to pray to God as he had always done, even in the face of severe punishment. When the officials found Daniel praying, they were quick to report him to the king. Despite his fondness for Daniel, the king had no choice but to uphold his decree. With a heavy heart, he ordered Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. The den was sealed, leaving Daniel alone with the hungry lions. Yet, Daniel held on to his faith, praying to God for deliverance. As the night passed, everyone waited for the dawn, expecting the worst. When the stone was rolled away from the den's entrance the next morning, to everyone's astonishment, Daniel emerged unscathed. God had sent an angel to shut the lions' mouths, protecting Daniel from harm. His faith had saved him from a gruesome fate. King Darius was overjoyed and immediately ordered Daniel to be lifted out of the den. In awe of the miraculous event, he issued a new decree, declaring that all his subjects should fear and revere Daniel's God. For he had saved Daniel, a man who served him continually and never ceased praying. And once again, Daniel showed us the power of faith and prayer. Daniel's story is a testament to the strength of unwavering faith and the power of prayer, reminding us that even in the face of danger, our faith can guide us to safety. Opening. Our final story is about a wise king named Solomon. In the ancient city of Jerusalem, there lived a king who was known for his wisdom far and wide. His name was Solomon. One day, two women came before King Solomon, each claiming to be the mother of the same baby. The women lived together and had both given birth to boys around the same time. However, one of the infants tragically passed away in the night, leaving both women to claim the surviving baby as their own. King Solomon listened to their pleas. The first woman insisted, "The living child is mine, and the dead one is hers." The second woman countered, "No, the living one is my son, and the dead one is yours." Their voices filled the court with desperation and sorrow. But King Solomon sat calm and composed, his gaze steady, his mind turning. Solomon, in his wisdom, proposed a solution that shocked everyone present. He called for his servant and said, "Bring me a sword. Divide the living child in two, and give half to one woman and half to the other." A gasp echoed through the court, but Solomon watched the women's reactions carefully. The first woman, her face pale, cried out, "Oh my lord, give her the living child, and by no means kill him." But the second woman, cold and bitter, said, "Neither I nor you shall have him. Let him be divided." In that moment, King Solomon knew who the real mother was. He declared, "Give the living child to the first woman, she is his mother." The court erupted in murmurs of awe and admiration for King Solomon's wisdom. He had cleverly devised a test that revealed the true mother's love, willing to give up her claim to save her child's life. Closing. King Solomon teaches us the importance of wisdom and fairness in making decisions. His wisdom was not just about having knowledge, but about understanding the human heart. And his fairness was not just about following rules, but about seeing truth and justice. Just as Solomon used his wisdom and fairness to make tough decisions, so can we in our everyday lives. Wow! Those were some incredible stories, weren't they? Let's take a moment to reflect on the lessons we've learned today. First, we journeyed with Ezekiel and witnessed his awe-inspiring vision of a chariot. This story reminds us of the grandeur and majesty of our Creator, and how his works are beyond our human comprehension. It's a humbling reminder that there is a divine power that guides us all. Then we delved into another of Ezekiel's visions, the Valley of Dry Bones. This tale taught us about hope and resurrection. No matter how dry or lifeless a situation might seem, there's always a chance for renewal and revival. It's a lesson about faith, about believing in the possibilities even when they seem improbable. Next, we followed Daniel into the fiery furnace. His courage in the face of adversity and his unwavering faith in God's protection is a lesson for us all. It encourages us to stand firm in our beliefs, even when the heat is on. Remember, just as the flames did not harm Daniel, our trials will not consume us if we have faith. We stayed with Daniel as he entered the lion's den. His story taught us that even in the face of danger, we can find peace when we trust in a higher power. It's a testament to the power of prayer and a reminder that divine protection is always at hand. Lastly, we learned from Solomon and his wise judgment. His wisdom in discerning the true mother of the child shows us the importance of understanding, empathy, and justice. It's a lesson in making wise decisions, in seeking truth, and in being fair. So as we end our story time today, I invite you to reflect on these stories. They're not just tales from a distant past, but timeless lessons that hold relevance even today. As we navigate through life's challenges, let's remember Ezekiel's visions, Daniel's faith, and Solomon's wisdom. Let's carry these lessons with us, applying them in our daily lives and sharing them with others. After all, these stories are more than just bedtime tales. They're a treasure trove of wisdom, a guiding light for our journey, and a testament to the power of faith, hope, and love. Thank you for joining us for Storytime. Good night, lovely families. Until next time.